Ephesians chapter 5, verse 33 says, however, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. Let the wife see that she respects her husband. Today's topic of discussion is titled, Never Question His Authority. Never question his authority. Coming up now. Happy Sunday, wherever you may be joining us from. My name is PY. I want to welcome you to my Darling Bride podcast. On this podcast, our job is to dig and discover gems for the building of kingdom homes and relationships in the word of the Lord. How can we use the Bible as a base for building our kingdom homes and relationships, not only for the benefit of ourselves, but also for the benefit of our children as they are watching us to become the templates that they will follow in their own relationship, in their own marriage as well. On Thursday at Truth and Tribe, our Thursday night Bible study that we do online on YouTube and Facebook, we talked about power and authority. We talked about power and authority, and we looked into the Greek word exousia, which is a type of power that means authority. And we said that while dunamis is power by ability, exousia is power by authority. And so we talked about how exousia is given, is granted, and it is delegated power or authority to someone over a jurisdiction, over a people, over a territory, right? And for example, we said a police officer, for example, has exousia or authority to enforce law in a specific jurisdiction. And so whenever a law is broken in his county or district, he doesn't need to call headquarters and say, well, do I make an arrest or not? No, he enforces the law. Why? Because authority has been given to him to act accordingly whenever a situation arises. A governor, for example, does not need to call the president before declaring a state of emergency if there's any issue going on in his state, because he has been given, delegated, granted exousia or authority to look out for the well-being of his constituents, right? And the king has the exousia over his subject. A husband has exousia, delegated, granted authority over his children, but also over his wife as well. Now, I know we live in a culture that we live in a time and an age where we don't like the truth anymore. You know, these whole concepts of authority and not questioning his authority and loyalty and all kinds of stuff, right? The whole marriage dynamics has been turned upside down, that we don't even know what to do anymore. And I believe every time we find ourselves in a place where we don't know what to do, we do well to go back to the template. There is a template to follow for everything in life. And for us, kingdom folks, believers, Christ disciples, our template is the word of the Lord. So every time we find ourselves in a confusing state and we don't know what to do, where to turn, we go back to the template and we say, what is God's design? What is God's mind concerning marriage, raising children, family, and things like that? So we do well to go back to that template, because if we keep running away from the template that God has put in place for us, I believe people will continue to find themselves in hot soup and they won't be able to come out of it. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3 says, but I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of a wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God. Essentially, Paul is trying to let us know that everybody submits to someone. Everybody must submit to someone. It's not a suggestion. It's a command. Wife submits to your husband as your husband submits to Christ. It's the template that the Bible has set in place for us. And this is not to be cute. This is not to be taken lightly It's not for a man to come into the realization of his authority and then lord it over his wife and his children. No, that is an abuse of power. That is an abuse of authority, because leadership is actually a call to servitude. Can I say that again? Leadership is a call to servitude. In other words, you are actually put in a position of a leader to serve and not to be served. So your husband serves you as his wife. He serves your children. He ensures your well-being. We're going to talk about that in a completely different episode, completely different video, really talking about servitude from a man's perspective, the intention of God when it comes to servitude. You know, we always look at the Bible and say God created a helpmeet for Adam, and we think for whatever reason that means she's supposed to come in and just do everything, you know, and serve him and submit to him and all kinds of stuff like that. Although that is part of it, what the man needs to understand is everything in his garden is his responsibility. So the well-being of your children is your responsibility. And I'm not just talking about from a financial standpoint, emotional, psychologically, whatever, like even to the point of their eating, going in the kitchen and cooking and dressing them up. All of that stuff is your responsibility. Now, you bring in a wife and say, can you help me? You delegate, right? You delegate some of that authority to your wife and say, okay, I've got like 10 things I got to get done. I'm going to delegate 2 or 3 of these 10 things over to you if you can help me with that while I focus on these other things. But never assume that those things you've delegated to your wife is her responsibility. No, the responsibility is still yours. You've just delegated them over to her and trust that she will do a good job handling those things. In other words, there is no what a man does and what a woman does. There is no, oh, this is something. No. Everything is your responsibility as a man. You have the authority. You have the responsibility to take care of your home, from the most minute thing to what you believe is the biggest responsibility of making money, right? So we're going to talk about that in a different episode, but I'm saying all that to say leadership is actually a call to servitude, to serve. Now, the authority of a man makes him an overseer, right? And I want to establish what an authority is, and then maybe we can go into what happens when you question his authority and what we can do instead of questioning his authority. I'm trying to establish here that your husband has an authority. It's an authority that is given, granted, and delegated to him by God. And it must not be insulted. It must not be belittled. It must be respected, right? The authority of a man makes him an overseer. The authority of a man puts him in charge, and he has God to answer to, even though he's in charge. The authority of a man makes him a caretaker and a steward. A caretaker and a steward of the gift of his family that God has given to him. If God didn't believe that you could handle a family, he wouldn't give you a family. That's why you see some people sometimes struggle to settle down, to get into a marriage and all that, because God knows that they can't handle what comes with that. Of course, there are other reasons why people struggle, but I'm saying one of the reasons sometimes is that, right? God wouldn't give a woman children, for example, not because of she's a bad person or there's something being done to her, but simply because she doesn't have what it takes to take care of a child, to be a responsible mother. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Not the sole reason, but sometimes it's part of it, right? So there you have a responsibility to steward this gift, to steward, to caretake, to take care of what God has put in your care, and your family is your responsibility as a man. The authority of a man is a position of responsibility to govern, to lead, to guide, to bring peace, to bring order, to bring calmness, and to bring solution, not a problem. To bring solutions, not problems. When we don't know what to do, we should be able to look up to our man, our husband, and say, what are we doing in this situation? How do we move forward? What is the direction? Where are we going? Right? You've got to be able to do that. And this is why the man also must have an authority above him that he submits to, he look up to, he consults, right? And whenever he finds himself in a position where he doesn't know what to do, he can always go back to God and say, God, I don't know what to do in helping my family, in giving my family the direction that we need. Help me so I can help my family, I can help them, right? The authority of a man is a position, it puts him in the position to set the tone of the home, to set the tone of the home. You have heard that the woman sets the tone of the house. You have heard that whether a house is going to be peaceful or calm is based on the woman. I propose to you that that is wrong. I submit that to you that that is wrong. That the man is actually the one who sets the tone of the house. For example, when my kids, whenever when they were a bit younger than what they are right now, I mean, they're still very young, 5 and 4, 5 and 3, right? But when they were younger, right, I because of the kind of person I am, I'm a disciplinarian. I can be strict sometimes. Now, I don't abuse my kids, but I can be very strict, in my discipline of raising them. And so sometimes they don't see me as a friend; they see their mother as a friend. But then I started to notice that whenever I'm coming home, they would put themselves in a position to compose themselves and to compulse themselves and to make sure that they're not doing anything that's going to get them yelled at or anything like that. And I realized that that was breeding some kind of fear in them, right? So what, and it set, and that set the tone of the home, right? And so to change that up, to make them more free, more relaxed, whenever I'm around, whenever I come home, I would jovially just play with them whenever, right? Randomly, right? Or sometimes I would go out and I would come back home with donuts and things like that, and just to kind of lighten up the mood and make them happy. And so that changed our dynamics. Now we're like friends, but then they also understand that when daddy's not playing, daddy's not playing. When daddy is playing, daddy is playing. Now they have that line. They have that understanding that there's a difference between when daddy is serious and when daddy is not, when daddy is joking and trying to have fun with them, right? So, and I realized that that sets the tone of the home. Now, a man is in a position to bring peace, order, and calmness into his home. He has the position, the exousia, the authority to do that. Now, I want to pause very quickly here and say this. Exousia it grows in measure. Exousia can be enlarged. You can be leader over 5, leader over 10, over 20, 100, 1,000. It grows. Authority grows in measure. And I say that to say that your woman also has exousia. Remember, I said exousia, authority, is delegated authority. It's a granted authority. It's given authority. Let me give you an example. Remember, I said the man has the responsibility, authority over his jurisdiction, his home. He has sovereign authority under the leadership of God over his home. But the woman does not have sovereign authority. She can't do whatever she wants. I know you don't like me saying that. I know it really messes with your mind when you hear things like that, but hear me out. We're talking biblical foundations now. Your man has sovereign authority over the home. That's why when they messed up in the Garden of Eden, God went to the man and said, "What happened, Adam?" God knows what happened. He knew that Eve was the one who messed up, but he went to Adam. You have sovereign authority. This was your jurisdiction. On your watch, what happened? I told you what not to do. I told you what you had to do, how to take care of yourself. But where did you mess up? What happened? God went to Adam because Adam had sovereign authority over that jurisdiction. Whatever was going on was his responsibility. Now, the woman also has authority, but it's not sovereign. Her authority is delegated by her husband. So, for example, my wife, when I was running our business and I was more on the road, and I was just never really home, I didn't have time to do much of anything, I delegated authority to my wife to handle our finances. You see what I'm saying? It's my responsibility to ensure that we are good as a home, as a family, the rents are being paid, to make sure that we have a roof over our head, food on the table, clothes on our back, kids are good, everybody's good. That's my worry. That's what I wake up thinking about every day, right? It's my job, it's my responsibility to ensure that, amongst other things. But within that, I can delegate authority and say, babe, help me pay our bills. I'm just going to keep pumping money into the account. All you got to do is that every month, on the first of every month, look up our bills and pay what needs to be paid, and just keep paying and keep paying. You don't worry too much about how we're going to like fund that account. I'm just going to keep saying, like, so this was the way we operated whenever I was on the road and I wasn't home all the time, or didn't have the time to focus on doing A, B, C, and D. So she would handle that for me on my behalf. It was a delegated authority. You follow what I'm saying? So your husband could delegate authority to you and say, help me take care of the children. Help me take care of the children. I want to be very careful to let the man know, whatever your wife is doing, don't look at it as it's her job to do it and that's why she must do it. No, it's your job to do. You've just delegated that responsibility to her. You've just given her authority to handle that for you, but it's still your responsibility. It is still your responsibility to take care of the kids, bathe them, feed them, shower them, all of that, clean the house, so mop the floor. All this domestic work that you believe is the job of a woman, no, it's your responsibility. Now, you may have a woman who says, I will handle that for you. You may have a woman who says, I will take care of that for you. That's fine, but it's not her job. I know this is going to throw a lot of people off, but I must tell us the truth. I must tell us the truth. The woman has exousia, authority over the children. The man has sovereign exousia over not just the children, but also over you as well as the wife. A home that is operated in equal partnership is not following kingdom templates. I know you don't like it, you don't want to hear it, you don't want me to say it. It messes with your philosophy and all that, but that's not biblical. There is no equal partnership in the Bible. No, otherwise the Bible wouldn't say the man, the husband, is the head of the wife. The Bible wouldn't say that. The Bible wouldn't say, did you not hear when the Bible said that Jesus didn't count it equal to be like God? There is still a level of hierarchy even within the Trinity. There is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The hierarchy in operation, the hierarchy in dispensation. The Father says, let there be. The Son says, it is so, right? And then the Holy Spirit empowers it. If the Son doesn't say it is so, the Holy Spirit has nothing to empower. And if God doesn't say let there be, the Son doesn't have anything to say is so. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So everybody work hand in hand to move the organization forward. There is no equal partnership in marriage, and don't get that twisted. If your home was an organization, for example, your husband would be the manager, you as the wife would be the supervisor. Okay, you're both working together hand in hand to move the organization, to move the department forward, but your husband still have a greater deal of responsibility to lead the team and make meaningful decisions that will benefit the team as a whole. Meaningful decisions that will benefit everybody in the team. Now, he can consult you as a supervisor before making a decision, but at the end of the day, he still has sovereign authority and responsibility for the well-being of the team. So he can come back and say, babe, I know we discussed this last time. I know we talked about A, B, C, and D, but after meditation, after research, after talking to God, after praying, after this and that, I realized that we should actually go this way. Your job is not to get upset at your manager and say, well, I don't know about this, man. Maybe I should go find another job and leave. Or maybe I should go find another husband. Blah, blah, blah. No, no. Your job is to understand and accept what he just said and not question his authority. Not question his authority. I want to share 6 things with you that happens when you question his authority. 6 things that happens when you question your husband's authority. Number 1 is you question the giver of the authority. God is the giver of the authority. When you question your husband's authority, you are questioning the legitimacy of that authority. If God really gave him that authority, or if the certificate of authority is from a reliable source, that if God knows what he's doing, essentially. Don't forget, you submitted to his authority on the day when you said, I do. The moment you got married to him, you submitted to his authority. Him becoming a husband was a delegated, granted, and given authority from God that you submitted to. So when you question his authority, you're questioning God and God's decision making. You're questioning the legitimacy of your husband's authority. When you question, number 2, when you question your husband's authority, you are actually questioning your own decision making. Like I was saying, don't forget, you submitted to this. You decided this is your husband. In other words, you decided that this is the person that you're going to submit to. This is your manager. This is the person you're going to look up to. So when you begin to question that authority, then we have to start looking at your decision-making ability and say, maybe you don't know what you're doing. Maybe you never paid attention to the signs. Maybe you ignored a lot of things and you weren't sure if this was somebody that you could submit to before you entered into this marriage journey with him. So when you question his authority, you are actually also questioning your ability to make good, meaningful decisions, especially in people. Okay. Number 3 is when you question his authority, you sow a seed of doubt. You sow a seed of doubt in your husband's mind, consciously or not, whether you know it or not, whether he knows it or not, but he will begin to question. He will begin to have less confidence in himself, and he will begin to have less confidence in his decision making, and ultimately have less confidence in himself. If at every turn his decisions, his authority as a leader is being questioned, you begin to sow seed of confusion, of insecurity, of lack, not being good enough in his mind every time you question his authority. And number 4, when you question his authority like that, and it sows seed of doubt and all kinds of stuff into him, what happens, number 4, is that it can lead to frustration or aggression. It can lead to frustration or aggression. A man wants to feel like a man. A man does not just want to feel like a man. A man wants to know that he is a man. He is respected. He is taking care of business, amongst other things, that he wants to know that he has some sense of dignity. And he may not get it outside, but whenever he comes back home, please, as a woman, as that loves your husband, give him a sense of dignity, a sense of authority, a respect that, you know what, you are doing well, and we respect your leadership. We honor you, So it can lead to aggression, right? That instead of him being doubtful of his decision making, he yells at you. He shouts at you, he spazzes at you and says, stop talking to me, stop questioning my authority, stop making me feel like I'm not a man, stop making me feel like I don't know what I'm doing, stop making me feel like I don't know what I'm saying. It can lead to him being more aggressive towards you and maybe even pull away from you, because every time, whatever he says, you have something smart to say back to him. So you have to be careful when you are constantly questioning his decision making, his authority as a man, his authority as your husband, his authority as a father. There are women who just keep pestering and pestering and pestering until the man just flares up. Then you're wondering, where did all this come from? No, it's been building up, right? It's been building up. So be careful, because when you're doing that, you're messing with his masculinity. And the one thing a man will not sit down and allow is someone to disrespect or insult their masculinity. You have to understand this. So it is a man would use that as a defense mechanism, that he would use to maintain his masculinity and his sanity in some extreme cases, right? Because you could also be messing with him psychologically too as well. Number five, what happens when you question his authority is you emasculate him. You emasculate him. You know, he won't want to exercise authority anymore. And worse yet, he would then leave the authority to you. He will leave the leadership of the home to you. Again, if your home operates like this, where you are the sovereign authority in the home and not your husband, you've gone against the grain. You've gone against what the Bible teaches. You've gone against the template. It may be working for you for now, but I'm telling you, it's not biblical. Because what you're doing is you're setting a template for your children to follow. You may think it works now, and you may say that, you know, we like it like that. That's how it works for us in our own family and everything like that. Wait till your son marries a daughter like you, where he doesn't have sovereign authority in his own home. Instead, his wife is the one with sovereign authority. And then the crazy thing about sometimes sovereign authority, both on the woman and on the man's side, is if care is not taken, sovereign authority can be abused as well, right? Power and authority can be abused. I've seen women yell at their husband. I remember, and I think we've talked about this on one of our episodes before. I remember one time we went to a restaurant, all you can eat restaurant, and you can see this family, you know, probably just came from Nigeria or somewhere. Yeah, Nigeria, because she was speaking Yoruba. And as they were there in the restaurant, she was, you know, they were sitting down. You could tell that she's been in America much longer than him. And so, you know, she knows the lay of the land and everything. But then, you know, so they went and got their food, they sat down, and the husband was kind of just, oh, what is this? Spaghetti? What is this? Rice? What is this thing here? Like he was just looking at the food and trying to kind of make sense of what he's eating. And the wife just yelled at him, Kilo, what is wrong? Like she said it in Yoruba, and I'm going to say it in English, but the way she said it, even in Yoruba, was worse. She was like, what is wrong with you? Why do you act like this? Why are you acting like a bush boy? Why are you acting like somebody that just came from the village? That's rice. Don't you know what rice is? Like she was just going at him and just talking down at him, you know? And I just felt really bad for the man. I just said, wow. And the man couldn't say anything. He had to be quiet. Why? Because his life probably depends on her right now. He just moved to the country. Where he's living is her house, possibly. He probably doesn't have a job. So she's the one taking care of the home. And if he says anything out of turn, she may show her power and say, get out of my house. Right? So he had to be quiet. Almost like he was emasculated, couldn't speak. He would just say, yes, ma, sorry, ma, don't worry, ma, okay, ma. Listen, that is not the way of God. That is not biblical in any way, shape, or form. You don't emasculate any man, not to talk about your husband. You don't even belittle any person, much less your spouse, okay? Anyways, number 6 thing that happens when you question his authority is you send the wrong message to the children if you have them. You send the wrong message to your children if you have them. You know, this messes with their mind about manhood. It messes with their mind about confidence in their own power and authority and identity. When a son sees that his father is treated like someone who doesn't have a voice, he himself shuts down and he believes that he doesn't have a voice as well. You know, not only at home, but also in the society at large. He feels, well, if this is how my dad is, then maybe I need to be that way too, right? So what our actions does not only affect us in the immediate sense of things, it also affects our children, the future. The people who are watching us and looking at us and saying and using us as the template for how to behave and how to move and things like that. So you want to be careful about that. Now, very quickly before we go, because of our time, I'm just going to give us 6 things to do instead of questioning his authority. I wanted to talk about what happens when you question his authority, but I'm going to add 6 other things to kind of counter those things. So I'm not just giving you information, but I'm also giving you wisdom in how to apply these things. 6 things to do instead of questioning his authority is: number one, allow it. Give him the room to exercise. Give him the room to feel like he's a man, to exercise his authority. There is wisdom in that, for this, for when a woman, for a woman that wants peace in her home, to allow the authority to flow, allow the authority to happen, allow your man to make decisions, allow your man to be able to say, yes, let's do that, no, let's not do that right now. Allow it. Let the man, allow him to flow in his God-given authority as your husband. Number two is acknowledge his authority. Let him know that you are well aware that he is the head of the house and you respect his decisions. In fact, thank him for the good decisions, right? That has turned out well for you guys. And don't underplay those good decisions when they do happen, right? Acknowledge it, allow it, acknowledge it, let him know that you know and you recognize him as the head of the house. Number three is appreciate him. Appreciate him. Let him know that all his efforts to lead the home is highly appreciated and they do not go unnoticed. Whenever he does something or he makes a decision that has panned out well for you, for your family, let him know, baby, I'm so glad you said we should do this. I'm so glad you told us not to do that. I'm so glad. Like, allow it, acknowledge it, and appreciate him, his leadership ability. And then, instead of questioning his authority, because many times we question his authority, we question our husband's authority because of a decision that needs to be made or something that was done or whatever, right? Instead of questioning his authority, assess the situation, right? Assess it. Think about it. Don't be rash in your response, and don't rush to respond. Pray on it if you must, but take some time to assess the matter, assess the decision that your husband is making or is about to make. Sleep on it. Maybe even speak to a trusted voice if necessary to get some insights, get some advice, but assess it first before you lash out, before you question his authority. No, take it in, be still, meditate on it, assess the matter, and then number 5, advise him. Advise him. Don't tell him what to do, just advise him. Babe, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I think we should do A, B, C, and D. I believe if we do this based on research, based on prayer, based on what I had a vision, based on whatever the case may be, advise him, but don't tell him what to do. There's nothing a man appreciates more than knowing that he's not alone in whatever decision he has to make. Okay, there's nothing he appreciates more than that. When you as a woman come with a clear head and you bring suggestions and advice, pros and cons on how to go about things and what you think should be done and things like that, and you deliver that respectfully, the man will be more prone to listen to you. Not only will he be more prone to listen to you, the man will be more prone to bringing you in to decision makings, because he sees where your heart is, he sees where your mind is, and he sees how you respect him, right? So he includes you in the decision making because of the way you advise him, the way you approach him, the way you respect him and suggest things to him in a respectful manner, right? And then finally, I'm gonna say this, and a lot of you may not like this, but instead of questioning his authority, can I advise you to accept it? That after you've allowed it, after you've acknowledged it, after you've appreciated it, after you've assessed the matter, after you've advised him, accept it. Because authority does not always function the way that we would like and when we would like it. Okay? And when that happens, you need to learn the act of acceptance. Learn the act to follow his lead and pray for him while he's leading, because he's already in the position of authority. You have no choice but to obey his authority and to submit to his authority. Like, you don't have a choice that your current president is your president. You don't have a choice. You can't say, well, I don't like this country, I'm just going to go somewhere else. Well, wherever else you go, there's a president there too. And you have to submit to their authority, right? Are you following what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when we can't do nothing about it, we accept and we pray. We pray and say, Lord, help my man, help my husband in today's decision. Help him to do the right thing. Help him to think, help him to see my point of view, help him to understand where I'm coming from. Pray for him rather than attack him and question his authority. Don't fight him. Don't turn the house upside down just because things didn't go your way. Don't turn it into a hot home just because things didn't go your way. No, instead, accept it and watch God lead him, especially a man who is submitting to God, So let me close on this. Never give the enemy a chance to penetrate your home and to destroy in 1 second, in 5 seconds, what has taken you years to build. Never give the enemy that chance to penetrate your home, destroy in 2 minutes what has taken you 2 years, 20 years to build. Never give him that chance, okay? All right, so that is all we have for today. I hope I've shared a tip or two to help move you towards a kingdom-fulfilled relationship, not only with self, but also with others, and most importantly, with God today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on this channel. Please help us to push this work forward and help combat the algorithm. Until next time, be the light, be the salt, and remember, all things are possible if you believe.